about tonight's baseball slate, but we'll start off with Sheets with a great win yesterday. Almost got it all, and it was a brutal finish, but still a great win. Why don't we talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get into the slate.
Yeah, played the 777 on DraftKings yesterday, and had all kinds of Yankees, full 5-man stack, and from Verdugo right through to Judge and Volpe and everybody. They were doing their thing. We had not Scooble, Dunning, and one of the other pitchers that won or whatever. And I was in first, and it was just me against a giant squid coming down to the wire. And not to rehash it, but I took some bad ones in the last couple of innings to lose by 0.3 points. And that's just that's just the way it goes. But happy to get second in there for 40, which is obviously really, really good, and ready to get after today.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, it's great. I'm happy to see it. I didn't play myself this weekend, and nothing more fun than getting the message from Sheets, the message that
love the
message. You don't know what's coming, So I was ready. I was ready for something big.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, let's pull up your screen and we'll go game by game here and see if we can't get you one spot better, 0.3 points better than yesterday.
You think if maybe we'll talk on the NBA later, but hopefully your Lakers can fight off one more.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Put a scare into them somehow, but
yeah, I hope so. We'll see. All right, well let's talk about this Toronto KC game. I think it's like one of the it's one stack that I certainly think is viable. Toronto especially. I don't mind the idea of a little bit of KC, to be honest with you, but I prefer Toronto. It's kind of a bullpen game that they're playing, and Toronto hasn't been great. They are affordable because of that fact. And I have them on as a mid-tier option of somebody that I'm considering today.
That's the guy I was going to ask you about, was this Rodriguez guy, because you were talking about him before when we knew that he was only going to be like an opener, and you even suggesting that maybe in 4 innings he might do enough. But he's actually not even listed as a potential opener. He's actually listed as a starter, and I don't know what that means. Yeah. But I figured I would ask you. I mean, in the context of this slate, I mean, it always looks this way. I shouldn't say it always looks this way, but sometimes it looks like really easy. And just to give you kind of a preview, I mean, I have like 2 pitchers like stand out like above everybody else, and then like a whole big tie for second to like 8 of them. And then I have literally like 2 stacks I like, and then a big wall underneath that. So just to kind of to go game by game here, like KC is one of those, big 8-way tie for pivots, as far as my stacks go. Certainly not a priority. And as far as the pitching goes, I'm really not getting to either of these guys at all. So I figured I'd let you try to talk me into the Rodriguez if that's something to talk me into. But otherwise, my sentiments are pretty much the same as you, just probably avoiding this for the most part.
Yeah, the Rodriguez, I guess this is like, it's a small enough slate, but he's not cheap. KC's actually been fairly good offensively this year, and I think that I just probably leave it personally. I guess if you're playing 150, maybe you keep him in the mix, but he would be, I think it'd be fringy. I do think there's a chance he might start getting a little bit more extended if he keeps pitching well, but it feels a little fringy. But I don't mind mixing him in. I just think that it's not like certainly not a priority by any means. All right, now we get to talk about the Mets and Severino, and then your old guy Severino and Taillon. It's the old Yankees guys.
It's by the way, it's hot here in New York today. It's like it can be 80 degrees today. I don't know what it's going to be at game time, but it's definitely a warm one out there from wherever that's worth. Mm-hmm. And listen, I have Severino as again, like 7 or 8 pitchers that I could use as pivots off the main guys. Taillon, again, probably no thanks. I do have sort of an interest though in both of the bats here, just because because of the weather, because I still, I'm a little fishy on both these pitchers. I guess the Mets would be my favorite of the two, even though the Cubs are the better hitting team. I just feel as though the Mets can do some more damage on Taillon than I'm even saying that. And the Cubs could on Severino. I guess it's pretty similar. But I am getting to a little bit of the Mets in my more the FanDuel than anything else, actually. Mm-hmm. But even still, no, DraftKings as well. So I am getting to the Mets and Cubs as kind of like that 5 or 6 or 7 other stacks besides the 2 main ones. So yeah, I guess I can get after this game a little bit.
Yeah, Severino is supposed to be pretty popular today. We'll see if that really holds up. I'm really this total sort of confused me. It's a 7.5 total, but like really the Cubs with less than a 3.5 implied total. I don't like understand why. I mean,
Severino's weather. I mean,
but it's only like it says a game time 66 degrees. Like
okay.
I don't know. Like it just seems low.
Yeah.
So I kind of have the same sentiment as you. I think that I'm open to both these teams. Neither of them look like priorities by any means. These are not. I mean, the Cubs are very good offense, but Severino's been pretty good for what it's worth. So I'm just sort of stuck on this one. I feel like maybe this is a place where I do something because I really can't figure out what else to do. It's pretty weird that JD Martinez was in the minor leagues and all of a sudden is like 4,500 batting cleanup for the Mets. Like he was in the minor leagues like a week ago. It just shows you a little bit the state of the Mets these days. Yeah, I think the Mets side I would be a little bit more open to than the Cubs, just because Severino's been decent. But honestly, the Cubs are a very good offense, so I'm open, but nothing that. This is where I'm sort of out on this slate. Like I don't feel great about basically any of the pitching, and I feel like I really like the chalk stack, so I'm looking for something different to do. So I guess I have to keep an open mind to both these teams. All right, Minnesota and the White Sox.
Yep. So everybody gets another chance to play Joe Ryan against the White Sox. If you didn't take advantage of that last time, I mean, I have to say he got hit. I mean, he got hit 2 home runs, and yet still he put up 24 fantasy points because of the strikeout upside, because of the strikeouts that go with going against the White Sox. I will also say that he's definitely had his share of matchups, in his favor. But I guess that's just the division he's in. Couple of Detroit's. I guess Cleveland's not so easy. But he's going to show up as one of the top pitchers again. And I don't really have any reason to dispute it again. He's 10-4, which is, it's healthy. He's very expensive on FanDuel. It's like 10-9 on FanDuel, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that when we get to something else later. But he does, show up projection-wise as the best overall pitcher on the slate. So on the other side, Crochet, I have him as one of my, 7 or 8 other guys that you could play as an SP2. So I will definitely throw that in there. And as far as the hitting goes, I have Minnesota as one of the 2 stacks I like the most this on this day, both on DraftKings and on FanDuel. I guess they're all just really, really cheap. I don't know what the weather is like over there, but that's one thing I'm looking for. By the way, I do want to shout out to the White Sox. I played that. I did it. I played that. I'm in that baseball fantasy league again this year. The Survivor pool this year, and like 70% of the people last week had Tampa, and the White Sox just freaking were my heroes and just took it to them. I think they either swept them or did just enough damage, including like a walk-off, come from behind bottom of the 9th or 10th home run to knock all those people out. So good for the White Sox. Have like the 6.
Wow, you got the White Sox through. That's pretty amazing.
Of like their 6 or 7 wins, like 3 of them were last week. Against So can I get to White Sox? Yeah, sure. In the bat flip and whatever it is. They put up 2 home runs against Ryan last time, so if I get to them, I'm not going to fight it too much. But obviously, that's not the main focus. So Ryan for me, Minnesota for me, and maybe a little Crochet on the other side.
Yeah, I think it's going to be almost impossible that Joe Ryan, like of any big lineup I play, I don't know how I'm not going to play him today. I really don't. He's the pitcher I feel by far the most comfortable with.
Yep. And
the White Sox are, I mean, just to give you people perspective, this is an epically might be one of the worst teams we've seen in baseball history. Like they're in the running for it. They're averaging 2.5 runs per game right now through basically a month of the season. That's impossible. Like nobody averages 2.5 runs per game, and you got the best pitcher on the slate in this matchup. I just don't know how I'm going to fade it personally. I guess he's expensive. Yeah, sure. Maybe that's why. But I am going to be playing Joe Ryan most likely. I am not entirely sure, except for the pricing, why Minnesota is showing up as such a strong play projection wise. I think I have a feeling that's going to narrow out a little bit. Crochet has got good stuff. Now, maybe you could, I would have liked them as like a contrarian thing because they've got some guys who are good against lefties, but I don't know that I want to just bet against Crochet. He did just face him. He struggled in his last outing against him. Usually that doesn't happen twice in a row. I'm telling you, if you watch when these guys go back to back, they usually have one good outing and one bad outing. I swear it happens almost all the time. And I don't particularly want to stack them, but yeah, the pricing wise, they make sense as a complementary piece, I guess. I would rather not play them as chalk if they end up.
Well, let me also suggest to you, it's also just possible that this Crochet is like a total fraud. Also, I mean, you know what I mean? Like he had the amazing game against Atlanta. Like since then, it's just been kind of like, yeah. I guess he did have 10 strikeouts against the Reds, but not for nothing, giving up 5 earned runs in the process. Yeah, I don't know.
He's still very young. I mean, he's like the reports that everything I've heard about him is he's a future all-star for sure. Like he's just a question of when. And he's only 24. But again, maybe it is the time to. I like to pick on some of the young guys. So I get it. I just don't understand why Minnesota's so popular. I guess that's my issue. Tampa Bay, Milwaukee.
Yeah, this to me looks like a 4-way pass. I'm not really getting much of anything. The only thing I'll think about is your Dodger dude, right? The Pepio. So I'll let you talk to me about that piece because he's, again, one of those like secondary options that's just showing up for me. What do you think of Pepio? Anything else in this game?
Yeah, I understand it. Milwaukee's, strikes out a lot, and I think that you could make a case for Pepio. I mean, he's on a second tier list, but so is basically everybody outside of Ryan for me. But I think that he's okay. He's also had some pretty decent matchups so far this year. He was awesome in Coors earlier this year. He put up like he had 37, 11 Ks, 11 strikeouts there. He's got the strikeout stuff certainly to keep him in play. I actually do kind of like Tampa as a contrarian stack. They seem to be a little bit overpriced, and I think it's going to keep them really, really low owned. I'm not overwhelmed by Bryce Wilson. It is a decent bullpen so far for Milwaukee, but I could talk myself into Tampa Bay certainly as a contrarian stack today. The top of the order, Diaz, Rosarena, Palacios, Paredes, all those guys I like quite a bit. I would leave I don't like to play Rosario as much as other people because he just doesn't have the power. Maybe you drop down and play the catcher as a 5-man. I think Tampa's a stack that I'm definitely open to today. So I'm definitely looking at that right now. But yeah, they're going to be the super low owned one that I take a shot on.
Well, to your point about the Milwaukee bullpen, let me share the last bit of tilt from yesterday's sweat. I needed Jake Bauers to get a double and an RBI to retake up the lead and probably lock it down. And he hit a double with a guy on first base, and the ball actually went over the fence. So he did not get the run batted in, and no one could lead him home. So I was basically dead, except for the fact that we got to the 9th inning of the Yankee game, and if they basically batted 8 guys or 7 guys, I could get back to Gleyber Torres and have one more shot to it. And then the most incredible bit of irony, they wanted to give me a shot because who came out of the bullpen, quote unquote, for Milwaukee in the 9th, but Jake Bauers himself to pitch the top of the 9th to the Yankees. And there's no better way for me to get the 7th or 8th batter up is to have my old man Jake Bauers get them there. But the Yankees couldn't get it around. So the point is, I guess they were saving the rest of their bullpen. So when you were mentioning Milwaukee's bullpen's not bad, maybe they're going to be a little healthier for this game. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard it's always hard to tell with bullpen. There's a month in now, so this is when you start to look at it. But I just think that that they're decent enough. But yeah, but even still, I do like this Tampa idea. I think it's an interesting way to go. All right, Philly in LA.
Yeah, so Philly LA. For some reason, on FanDuel, Philly's showing up as my number 1 stack.
Yeah, they're cheaper.
I guess they're particularly cheap over there, especially relative to DraftKings. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. Pitching-wise, I actually have both of these guys in that second tier of pitchers that you can play. I will just say, just the eye test, Griffin Canning at 6,300 seems awfully cheap for a guy that, pitches baseball. You know what I mean? It's not like he's been a starter for like several years. You know what I mean? Like he can do stuff. So 6,300 seems awfully cheap if you need the money to get to some hitting that you might want, which we'll get to. So yeah, I like both these guys a little bit. Sanchez, Canning, again, not priorities or anything like that, but to get different and to just do something else. I do like both of those, and again, I do like Philly in FanDuel, but then actually the Angels, of all things, are like one of those like secondary stacks on DraftKings as well. So I hate to tell you guys this, but I have like marginal interest in all four sides. But as far as priorities go, it would just be Philly on FanDuel, and everything else in this game is kind of like secondary.
Yeah, I actually agree exactly with what you said. Seems like the obvious. All four aspects are mildly interesting. Like, I think both pitchers are mildly interesting, and I'm not overwhelmingly excited, but I'm not excited about anybody particularly. I do feel like this is a tough matchup for Canning, and I think Philly is they're expensive, they're hard to get to, but I certainly think if you're not playing the Dodgers, that getting to some Philly makes a lot of sense. I think the Angels would be very low owned, and I wouldn't mind taking a shot on them against Sanchez, who could just streaky pitcher. Sometimes he's streaky. So I don't mind getting to little Angels. I don't think I want to make a 5-man Angel stack, but I could definitely talk myself into a Philly one. And like I said, because the Dodgers are going to be so popular, I think that Philly's going to be a little bit lower owned. All right, here we go. We don't know it. We don't go yet.
No, Cincinnati and San Diego next. Yeah. And I'm not getting any of the Lodolo in 9,800. Matt Waldron, otherwise known as, I guess, the leader of the free world. I mean, he has a win, giving up very little in Colorado.
Yeah.
He's got a win, giving up very little at Dodgers.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's a win. Oh, he didn't win that, actually. He did give up only 1 run in 5 innings against the Dodgers, though. I mean, that's gotta be worth something, I guess. Mm-hmm. But marginal at best, not a priority or anything like that. So neither pitcher really for me, and honestly, neither set of bats for me either.
Yeah, I'm not getting to anything here either, and maybe I would talk myself into a little Lodolo, and you play for the upside because he does have good strikeout stuff. But I'm not like excited about it. He's expensive. Waldron doesn't have the strikeout stuff but he's 6,800, so I certainly understand it. You got a 6,800 pitcher against a team with a 3.7 run total. That just makes a lot of sense. So I'm not going to write either of these guys off. And like you, I'm not getting to the bats today. This is a very low total. A lot of really low totals. 7.5 one, and it's kind of surprising considering who's pitching. So I will definitely consider Matt Waldron as an SP2.
So I'll start with Dodgers Arizona. And it's actually interesting to see Dodgers not the last game on the slate. I guess the other on the road, even though it's in Arizona. Yeah. And it could have been the last game, but because they're all 940. But
yeah.
Okay, I have actually something that I've been meaning to not tilt about, but just to reach out to DraftKings about it. It's been going on since I started playing DFS, and I still don't quite get it. So I'm looking at these two pictures. I'm like, just the way they're displayed right here. Like, if I look at Jay Paxton, it just like says, his name. It doesn't say right there whether he's a righty or a lefty. You have to go to the opponent to figure out what handedness the pitcher is. You know what I mean? Like if I want to know what handedness Paxton is, I have to go to see Tommy Henry's opponent or the batter's opponent, which is kind of weird. In any case, this looks like kind of the possibility for a good bit of batting practice for the Dodgers. And they're probably, I imagine they have the highest total. They certainly project the best for me on both sites between DraftKings and FanDuel. And I don't know how cheap they are or whatever, but we talked about a couple of ways you could go to save a little money at pitcher. We'll get to some other options later. But the Dodgers, to me, are clearly they have 10 plus run upside in this spot. I don't know about the roof or whatever it is, but people have been scoring runs in Arizona all year, and Tommy Henry seems like a good candidate to continue the trends against the Dodgers. So Dodgers clearly good. Paxton cheap enough, but again, Arizona is not the greatest park, and Arizona can hit the ball pretty good. So I will say Dodgers and more Dodgers.
Yep, roof will be open. It'll be 90 degrees.
Oof.
It is going.
Why keep the roof open if it's 90 degrees?
That's cool for Arizona. That's why.
Oh, I guess so.
But Arizona, I go out there to visit. I've got family and stuff out there. I go out there and it's like 110 every time, and I'm like, what is this? Like, this is a crazy world. So yeah, like I don't know what's going on with Paxton. He, I think, has walked the most people in baseball by a lot. He had 8 walks in a couple starts ago. He also hasn't given up like hardly any runs, which is bizarre. Like he's just walking everybody, but not giving up any runs. I don't know how he's walked 17 guys in 20 innings or whatever it is. 17 guys in 20 2/3. Yeah, that's insane. I've never seen that before. He has,
because he pitched for the Yankees.
I mean, it's just bizarre. He used to have great control, and how is he getting away with this so far? He's, like he hasn't given up runs, but I can't do it. I thought about it. He's going to be low owned. I just think there's got to be something wrong when you're walking that many guys. But maybe I'll reconsider later if I hear something that he's found some. I don't know. It looks pretty shaky to me. I think both these offenses are where you want to be. I mean, you don't want to struggle with control against an offense like Arizona, who's actually very, very strong. It's a good offense against lefties. Very, very. You've got Suarez is a lefty killer. I think it's a really strong lineup. So I'm in on both sides of this. This is probably my favorite thing. The problem is the Dodgers are going to be. This is the first time I've talked about. I mean, the Dodgers, for what it's worth, people have complained and said stuff about, oh, the Dodgers are supposed to be all this. Dodgers have scored the most runs in baseball. I don't know what you want from them. They scored the most runs of anybody in baseball, and there's room for them to even go higher on that. So I do like the idea of playing them as much as possible. But the problem is you're going to be dealing with like that. It's almost like Coors ownership. So maybe switching, maybe using the Dodgers as your secondary stack and using Arizona as your primary is a good way to get different. I don't love in general picking on Paxton, but if you're going to start walking, 5-6 guys a game, I'm going to stack against you. So I'm definitely going to play some Arizona today personally. And the Dodgers are, I think, the best stack on the board, which means, I'm probably not going to end up using them as a main stack. Just it's hard to win that way. Maybe in the single entry I'll do it, but.
Well, let me ask you a question. Can you get to these guys that easily? I mean, I have Pages, right, or whatever, however you pronounce his name. Like he's 3,200, but everybody else is pretty healthy priced.
Kike will be in there. He might be in the middle of the lineup at 2,800.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. They're expensive. Muncie's affordable. That's a lefty, but I actually like he'll be the lowest owned of the bunch. So I'm probably force Muncie in if I did play the stack. Yeah, I think people are going to do it. It's just my guess is that they do. But yeah, like I said, Arizona on the other side of this game is completely viable to me. It's funny. I want to play the Dodgers as a full stack, and I'd like to use Arizona as a complementary stack. But I just think I'm eating too much chalk with the Dodgers. So I'd rather not get to the full 5-man of Arizona, but against Paxton. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll just go for it today because I don't like a lot of the hitting.
Dodgers are going to be so chalky. I mean, I'm just building like whatever, and I just put Petke on for no reason. Like 9,100, you don't have to spend this much. If you use these Minnesota pieces, like for example, like you could play like all kinds of stuff with the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's what, and I think that's going to be the way people do it. All right. Next up, do you have Pittsburgh, Oakland? Yeah.
Yeah. So Pittsburgh against Oakland. I guess both of these pitchers are cheap enough, right? Against their opponents. You want to save money and try to get 15 fantasy points. They both have pretty good matchups, so I got no problem with these guys as SP2s. So. Again, certainly not going to start my big buy-in with either of them, but they certainly can be paired with Ryan pretty easily to get to some of these Dodgers. As far as the hitting goes, not really getting to too much of either side of this, so that's probably where I am here.
Yeah, I think that they're both in play because of the stadium and the opponent, but I think I would prefer to go Falter. I don't really understand why Boyle's going to be popular and Falter won't be. I think they're both really close, but Falter's coming off like his best start of the year. He was really, really good. And this is Oakland. Like I'm willing to go there, and he's showing like 5% ownership. I'll take a gamble there. I'll also bet the over on his 4K prop or whatever. Is it 3.5 or 4? Yeah, I think it's really low. I just don't know why. It feels a little too low. Boyle's got the 5.5K prop, which is seems like a pretty good number actually for 6,200. So I do think I'm leaning towards these as being my SP2s. I just don't feel great about a lot of the pitching on the slate, and I think there's enough upside because the matchup for both these guys. On the flip side is like Oakland's going to have like a little bit of ownership because of the pricing of like Nevin. Langolier is going to be hitting in the middle of the order. He'll have some ownership because he's 3,400. I don't think anybody's playing Pittsburgh, and maybe that's a good way to get different for your complementary stack. They're cheap enough. You can fit them in with the Dodgers. Maybe that's a way you could go that you can get a little bit off the board. Rowdy Tella is at 3,100. Sawinski at 36. McCutcheon at 38. They're all affordable. So I'm okay with the offenses here. I think the Pittsburgh offense is a little more appealing to me than the Oakland.
So I've got a prop if this were available. Not even a prop for that game. But there's certainly no line on this. I want you to think about this. So Pittsburgh is going to Oakland, like it's an interleague game, right? They never play each other. Whatever it is, 3,000 miles away. It's a series. How many people are going to be at this game? I mean, like, if you get an attendance prop on like Pitt at Oakland,
2,000 maybe.
I mean, it's like there'll be more employees at the stadium. Yep. I mean, like this is. They're probably going to show some of those scenes unless MLB like forbids it. I mean, this is a nasty series. Pittsburgh at Oakland. That's a rough one.
It is.
Oof. I just figured I'd bring that up. It's not even, there's going to be like, it's not even like local where a couple of diehard Pittsburgh guys might go, or maybe like even the players' spouses will go because it's close at least or something. This is 3,000 miles away. Like, this is a disaster.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
All right. So Atlanta at Seattle. You have, all right, this is who's showing up as the second top pitcher on the slate, and that's Max Fried. And he is, listen, we speak about him every time he pitches, obviously for the several years now, is, being a really, really good real life pitcher, but doesn't really have that type of, big, huge upside. And part of his win condition for when he does have upside is what happened in his last game. Great real life pitchers do have that complete game shutout upside every once in a while. So that's why he was able to put up 39 points.
I owe everybody. I blame. It's my fault that he threw I said it when we were recording. I said you literally are hoping for a complete game shutout. That's the way he gets there, and that's exactly what he went on and did. Sorry, go ahead.
And I have to say that I'm inclined to not do it today. And again, this knowledge or this perceived knowledge I have of Seattle, I guess. I don't want to play somebody like a chalky lefty against Seattle righties. I just don't. Except, by the way, I'll mention to you that on FanDuel, Fried is basically free. I think he's like under 8K on FanDuel.
Yeah.
So you just go ahead and play him if you want. But
also he's really good at the quality start thing.
Yeah, and he's like 3,200 less than Ryan. You know what I mean? I know that Ryan's more upside, whatever. Yeah. But I would play Fried on FanDuel. But on DraftKings, I don't know where ownership's going to come in. Oh, man, I can't do it. I was about to say I'm going to take shots at Seattle. Fried just doesn't really get touched up. But then again, I mean, it would be very Sheets, right, to play him off to stack against him off the complete game shutout. Yeah, I mean, I will say that. And he's got a couple of games that, you know what? I'll probably just avoid the whole thing. So anyway, not interested in him. Excuse me, not interested in Seattle. I guess Fried is going to show up. Boy, I really don't want to play him and Ryan together, though. I really don't want to. I'd rather take shots at some of those other pitchers we talked about. And Atlanta, yeah, sure. I mean, why not? They're going to be the natural price pivot off of the Dodgers. It's not a good park. So they're going to be low owned. I got no problem with that. I'm not getting any of them in my projections or whatever. I guess because they're expensive, and like I said, I mean the Dodgers just look much better for a lot of reasons. But I don't know. I think I'll take a shot. I don't know if I'll play in big binds or anything like that, but if I get like 20% of them, like by accident in like the lottery, I'm not going to be complaining.
Yeah, I hear you. The problem I have is I just have an incredible amount of respect for Bryce Miller as a pitcher. I think he's an awesome pitcher. His control hasn't been quite what it was, but he's had some tough matchups, so I got to give him a break. Like Texas, walking some guys in Texas it's going to happen. Walking some guys against Chicago, it's going to happen. But even still, like he's really good. I don't know, doesn't mean he can't have a bad game today, but this is about the lowest total I've seen with Atlanta in a long time. And it's in Seattle on top of it, which is obviously, maybe the best pitcher's park in baseball. I don't want to play Max Fried as chalk here. It feels so strange when you get a 2% owned guy 1 week and now he's the maiden chalk and he doesn't strike guys out. Like,
yeah,
I just don't want to do it. Like Seattle is the highest strikeout team in baseball. And I still don't think I'm going to end up with much Fried. I just, like you said, I'd rather take shots on the other guys. It also was a complete game shutout. Maybe, I don't think they're going to limit him, but like maybe he doesn't throw 100 pitches. I don't know. I'm just trying to find reasons because I just don't want to play that chalk. And it is a little bit of a different Seattle team in terms of like, they're good against lefties. They still have guys who are pretty good against lefties, but they don't have there's no Suarez in there anymore. And he was a guy you always he's so much better against lefties than he is righties. Yeah, I think this game is probably going to be a stay away for me. I actually flirted with the idea because it's direct pivot off of Fried to considering Bryce Miller. It's just hard against Atlanta, especially because they don't strike out a ton. It's not like they're this great offense like the Dodgers strike out now because Ohtani's in there and he strikes out a ton. Atlanta doesn't strike out. I think they're the 10th lowest strikeout team in baseball, which is pretty rare for considering how much power they have. So I probably end up doing nothing in this game. But maybe you don't stack Seattle, but I don't mind the idea sheets if you wanted to do like a little 3-man. You've got Dylan Moore at 3,400. You could play Julio Rodriguez or along with one of the catchers. I think that's a reasonable 3-man stack if you wanted to get a little different on this slate. But probably for me, a game I just don't do anything on.
Yeah. So the reason why I did this Saberson build and. I'm just because I'm seeing the reason why I'm getting all these Twins. They're all like $2. I mean, like Margot 2,900 hitting third, Miranda 3,100 hitting fourth, Santana 2,900 hitting fifth. Then you have this other 2K guy, this A Martin hitting sixth at 2,400. You get like an average of like 2,700 a man in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or whatever. They're just going to show up. So I don't know exactly what that's going to mean, but and this is, by the way, this is with using the Sims, getting literally they want me to play 100% Minnesota. So what that means is that they're going to be really popular. I guess that's what that's going to mean. So
I think so.
Yeah. So Dodgers, Twins, Braves, Twins. So. I guess we could play some crochet after all. I don't know. We have to see. But right now the cheapness of the Twins is kind of dominating the lineup construction right now.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what I noticed. That the Twins and the Dodgers are I think going to be really popular. I do still like the Dodgers, but again, I like the Arizona to get different. I just sort of hit me, and I didn't really talk much about it. Maybe Cincinnati is something I could talk myself into.
Ooh, there you go. That's something.
I like that lineup, and what's great about them is they've got some power, but they also Ellie De La Cruz is going to steal 100 bases this year. They can run, and I think that there's a high upside offense, and you've got weird pieces of value in there. You might get Bubba Thompson at 2,100. Maybe I could talk. I don't have a lot of respect for Waldron. I know he's been decent, but maybe this is the spot. I usually like to only play Cincinnati at home, sort of like Boston, but I think Cincinnati is going to sneak in there for me. But the Dodgers, Arizona rate out the best, followed by Philly, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and then Cincinnati for me. Ryan, Falter, Boyle are my main pitchers, Ryan especially. And I think that I'm just gonna go for the guys in that Oakland game with the no fans, as you mentioned before.
I'll tell you what you really kind of make me think about is this Bryce Miller idea. It's the same price. He's actually 200 more than Max Fried.
Yeah.
He's going to be, a fraction of the ownership. Listen, Atlanta's had a really tough series with Cleveland the last like 3 days. I think a few extra inning games or whatever it is, and now they're freaking blasting out to Seattle. You know what I mean? Like into a pitcher's park, and like you said, Bryce Miller is very, very talented. I at the very least will do some last minute funny business. You know what I mean? Like if I have Max Fried somewhere and I need to like do whatever, I'll play Bryce Miller and swap to some Seattle guys from that 940 game maybe.
I like that.
To pivot around. Remember all these 940 games. So you're gonna have the Dodgers at 940. You have so I have to see what I want to do. But yeah, I'm kind of into the Bryce Miller as kind of a pivot off of the Max Fried. I definitely don't. I'm not playing Ryan and Max Fried together. That's just not. I just don't think I could do it, because otherwise, what I'll end up doing, then I'll have to play like a 5-man. Not that this is bad or anything, but you know what I would do? I'd play Ryan and Fried together if I played like a 5-man net stack or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then I can get away with it. Or you know, you could play like a 5-man Arizona stack.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, one thing about Arizona that I don't know if you noticed, call it the sophomore jinx or call it whatever.
Yeah.
You know who hasn't had a hit since like the Eisenhower administration? Like Corbin Carroll. What is going on with him? He's like hitting like 100. I only realized it because yesterday or a couple of days ago, I looked at him, he was like hitting 8th. I'm like, what in the hell's going on? It's freaking crazy. I mean, I'm sure he'll turn it around or whatever. That's nuts.
They like to have him 8, some 6 that usually was the number against lefties, but now they're down in the 8 hole. Like it's weird. But you know, and you could play the rest of the stack around him. I don't think you necessarily need to play him because.
Oh no, I didn't. I know I don't want to play. I'm just saying he literally hasn't had like a hit. Like
no, I know it's been unbelievably bad. Yep, it's true. So I think that's that's pretty much it for the early look. Do you want to do a basketball one with me after this?
Sure. We could give me like 10 minutes.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, 12:45.
All right. Good luck, everybody. We'll see.